Hi everyone, this is Xandralyn here, and welcome to a new Sims 4 speed build. This is the second speed build that I'm doing on my channel, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for the views and the comments on my first video that I posted last week. It meant a lot to me, I really appreciate that. So now I am building in Ravenwood, which is the world that came with the Life and Death pack, and this lot is being built on the Crow's Perch plot, and it's at the top of the hill in the main town. I originally thought for some reason that this was a 30 by 20, even though looking at this now it's obviously a 30 by 30 because it's just a square. So it took me a little bit longer. And I just had this idea to do a Victorian-style house, and it has a lot of odd shapes and a lot of octagons, and it definitely makes for a challenging build every time I do one of these. And usually with Victorian houses, I don't do a floor, like I don't go into it with a floor plan in mind. I mostly just build the exterior of the house and try to make that look really good first, and then I decide how I'm going to do the interior. And needless to say, doing these weird shapes and making the exterior look really good and funky and awesome definitely makes for a challenging floor plan, but I ended up with something I was happy with. I got the idea off of a Pinterest image. It's not completely the same, but sometimes I just take bits and bobs out of what I'm looking at and then just use my past building experience to kind of help me decide what I want to do with it. Yeah, and doing this deck was a pain in the butt. I was trying to line up the deck with the roof so that I was able to put spandrels underneath the roof, and I wanted there still to be enough room for the Sims to like walk around. So I do end up moving it once I realized that I need to adjust the roof. So yeah, this took a little while, but in the end it's all good. It actually worked out well, and I like the way it looks. And also, as said by the title, this build is made with a Jewelcrafter sim in mind. There's actually 2 bedrooms, but I wasn't sure, like, for my own story with this house, if it was just a guest bedroom upstairs, the secondary bedroom, and this person or the sim lived alone. But it was mostly made with like a Jewelcrafter in mind. So I dabble a bit with like a couple different color schemes and pillars on the outside of the house. So it took me a while to decide what I wanted. I actually used multiple types of pillars on the outside to frame the house and also the deck. And I also chose multiple colors as well. So I ended up going with like a green teal color and also a purple. I was actually looking for a purple brick, but we don't have those in the game. Actually, we don't have a lot of purple anything in the game. Like, I don't know if we have more furniture, but for the exterior of houses, there's not a whole lot of purple options. I feel like there definitely is not enough purple in this game. I love the color purple, so yeah. Anyways, here you can see I'm just moving the house a little bit more to be able to fit the columns in at equal intervals because it looks better. And yeah, so I was having fun with the outside of this house, but I was a little bit worried about how I was going to deal with the inside. There's a lot of edges like in the rooms and a lot of like shapes and things like that, but I think in the end I found something that that worked well. So yeah. In terms of what packs I used for this house, well, I always use like a little bit of everything. Yeah, see, I'm still struggling with the exterior of the house, trying to decide how I'm gonna shape it. But anyways, yeah, the floor plan's a little bit it was intimidating, a little bit wonky. But yeah, anyways, going back to what I was talking about with what packs I mostly used to make this house. I used obviously the Crystal Creations kit, and then the Paranormal kit. I used a lot of those items, and also Realm of Magic, and I think a little bit of vampire stuff. So yeah, a lot of like witchy vibes and occult vibes for this build. I did the beginning of the floor plan off camera because I take a lot of time deciding on rooms and whatnot. And there I just changed the colors of the pillars because I decided I wanted like white to be the color that frames the house. And I think originally I actually had white windows, but I end up making them black just because it made it pop and stand out more. I really like the Realm of Magic windows. When that pack came out, I made so many builds um, for Realm of Magic. I was just so excited about the pieces. I thought they were wonderful. I thought they were um, very fantasy like, and it was nice to have those kinds of objects in the game. So, yeah, here you can see me deciding on what kind of pillars I'm going to use to frame the house. And there was actually like quite a few good ones, like some of the base game ones, especially those ones with the little bulbs that you just saw, like at the bottom and the top. I think they look very much like I don't know, they give me like cotton candy house vibes or something like that. I know that's not the style, but that's what it made me think of. And for the roof, I did want to use like the uh how do I say, like the wavy, like circular looking roof texture because I just think it looks whimsy. And but then it didn't, the color like didn't look good with the color of the bricks. So I think I just went for like a regular kind of shingles or whatever. So I spent a lot of time fighting with this top roof. I was trying to decide uh how I wanted to do it, whether I wanted to have the eaves hanging over or not, and so on and so forth. And then yeah, and then just experimenting with some more colors. I don't know how the side of this house like got messed up as much as it did. Like how many times I must have changed the exterior of the build for this to keep happening because we keep looking at this side and I must have changed it like 4 times in the first like 5 minutes of this recording. But anyways, that's the struggle of building sometimes, I suppose. At some point, I did try to add a balcony to this house, but by the time all of this was like set up, there was just too many roofs and problems with roofs coming into the fenced area, and even roofs coming into the areas that were like considered rooms by the game. It's almost like you have to build the rooms first and do the roofs after. I had trouble with that, so I scrapped the idea of a balcony. But I do put a telescope in the yard because I don't know, I just thought this kind of the sim that lived here was probably interested in the stars and astronomy and astrological signs and whatever like that, so I was trying to keep to that lore. But yeah, it was a little bit frustrating with the roofs coming into the rooms. At some point coming up, I build a gazebo and try to attach it to the house, and I I don't know why. It was like the upstairs was an enclosed room, but the gazebo roof kept like clipping into the room and there was just no way around it. I don't really understand like if it's a bug or what, because it shouldn't be doing that because it's an enclosed room, but yeah, it's just one of those things in the game that I tend to work around. So here I'm deciding on dormers. Dormers are really hard. Like I love putting these little roof decorations on most builds I do, but it's hard to find a color swatch that matches, not ratches, matches the roof tile. So I just chose something that looked like a little bit circular for some fun shapes, and then yeah, just had like the gray steel. So like a lot of times I have to let that go and just be like, okay, it's not going to match, but if it looks close enough or it doesn't look bad, then it's okay. Um, yeah, so here I had changed all the windows to black, and I was just absolutely in love with the way that it looked with the bright colors. Some of the base game windows, the ones on the front, they're really good for like this style too. I think I changed some of the Realm of Magic swatches to the stained glass that had the little moons and stuff and the stars because I just thought it was appropriate. And here I was just looking for a black and white door, and I think, well, I didn't know I was looking for a black and white door, but when I found this black and white door, I was really happy about that base game door. I thought that just looked great. And yeah, it was at the point that I changed all the windows to black that I had the inspiration to make the interior of this house a little bit of, I want to say, a dual personality house. Like you'll see when we go inside that half the house is like kind of pastel-y and light. It's all like within the same like decoration style, but then there's some rooms that are really dark, like black and purple and gray and things like that. So And here I'm just putting on the roof toppers. I really love these ones from, I think it's Strangerville. They just look so good, like on Victorian houses, and also the little bits and bobs that came from Get Together. And I think part of my favorite part is putting this little thing on top of the tower on Victorian houses. And yeah, okay, good. I changed the windows there. I was scared I was going to leave them white. Yeah, but just finishing up the outside of the house. I think I go back and do like the decorating for the exterior at the end. So there is a little bit of a yard, and there's a greenhouse, and there's a path and a little area to sell jewelry or whatever the sim might make, and also a place to give tarot card readings, because that was kind of my idea, was that this sim lives at the top of the hill, or sim and her sister, or sim and someone else, whoever, and she's kind of like the town like go-to for like psychic readings and things like that, but she's also interested in like the energy of gems and jewels. So that was kind of the inspiration. And here I'm just making that little gazebo that I was talking about. It doesn't have like any enclosed walls. It's just columns like with a roof. I put I think a Realm of Magic cauldron on there, which this house wasn't intended for a sorcerer. I just thought, if you wanted, oh, see, here's the roof clipping into the room. This is what I was talking about that I couldn't figure out. But yeah, so I ended up just moving it to the side. I gave up with the idea of attaching it to the house. But yeah, with the cauldron, I thought like at the very least, like Sims can cook mac and cheese. But if they are a spellcaster or a sorceress or sorcerer, then this is could be a good little house for them too. I like to combine like pack play. So yeah, so we've got like the paranormal stuff. We've got like the seance table, and we've got the cauldron, and we've got the crystal creations kit, and so on. Anyways, now moving on to the inside, I found these little lamps, and the colors of them were basically like the color of the shades on the lamp, like the pink, the blue, and the yellow or peach tone or whatever, was kind of the inspiration for like this whole like entrance room. And I did use platforms a little bit more in this house than I did in my previous build. In fact, I might have gone too intense with the platforms at first. I cut out a lot of footage of weird platform shapes, like in the bedroom and in the living room and so on. And even in this area, like originally I had a platform near like the back door and the front door, and I thought maybe like a little sunken in living room would be nice, but it actually wasn't so nice. It didn't look that great at all. So yeah, here I'm just framing the kitchen with these spandrels. I actually really like this little kitchen. I did use the life and death pack mostly, minus the fridge, which was Realm of Magic, and obviously the paranormal curtains. One thing I noticed, well, I don't know. Oh yeah, I wanted to put that thing on the outside. Get famous awning or whatever it is. But anyways, going back to my thought about the kitchen, what I was gonna say is I noticed there was a lot of like cross pack color swatches, like a lot of colors from one pack actually perfectly match colors from another pack, which I really liked. And I wasn't intending on using these cookie rugs, but I found one because I was filtering rugs by the color pink, and then I was like, oh my god, they're so cute. And I just love them, and I just thought, so for this like side of the house that has this like pastel look, I decided to go with layering cookie rugs. And I think that might be, I don't even know what kit that's from, but whatever one it is, that is my favorite item. I don't get an excuse to use that very often. And I was going to go with the faux fireplace here, and I ended up just going with a real fireplace. And yeah, I think it wasn't working when I was playtesting it, and it turns out that I actually had another mirror like sitting inside the fireplace, so that was the problem. And so I just had to move the table a little bit and delete that other mirror, and then it was fine. So yeah, and then just this powder room behind the stairs, I thought that was a good spot for it, and it's probably one of my favorite little powder rooms I've ever done too. There's just a few simple decorations. I don't know why I liked it so much. I was just like, why are bathrooms, they're never fun, you know what I mean? Like, so I tried to have a little more fun with this one, and I completely rip out this wallpaper and the floor at some point. But yeah, I think I talked about in my last video how, I don't know, like it probably isn't so bad viewing it, but like as someone who's trying to do a voiceover, it's kind of hard when I'm like going all over the place, like going from the kitchen to the bathroom. So hopefully I'll go back to the kitchen soon. But sometimes I do that when I'm building, like I just am not sure what direction to go at the time, or I don't feel like cluttering yet, and I just feel like I want to um, place a few basic objects somewhere else. But anyways, I think now I'm going back to the kitchen, but it is just so pastel and I love it. And I would totally want this kitchen in real life. It had a little bit of an issue. I put some hanging plants and my sim couldn't get to the fridge, so I just moved that. But yeah, I guess if anything, I imagine that the sim would be into baking and like maybe some stuff with like the plants they grow and things like that. I think I do put a few herbs on the wall, just not the or herbs or whatever herbs. Not the Realm of Magic ones. I think it was the Laundry Day one. Yeah, see the color matches the curtains perfectly and they're not even from the same pack, so I was just like thrilled about that. And yeah, so I'm just continuing to decorate the kitchen. I decided to go with a tea set and a tea maker instead of coffee and put some little bits and bobs on the wall and some antique plates and things like that. Yeah, so it's functional. It's small, but it's it's well functioning. And I wanted to put aprons, but I couldn't find a place to put them since I imagined that the sim would be into baking. Um, I like kitchens to feel used in this game, like especially if I intend on putting a sim to live there. So I always leave at least one empty counter space for sims to cook on. However, I don't know if it's just like my mods are like MC Command Center or what with like move objects, but my sim still likes to cook. Like when I'm playtesting, they still like to cook like on top of the microwave or on top of the food processor. So yeah, I don't know, but there is an empty counter space, so Sims should be able to use that for cooking. And then yeah, just putting some of these life and death shelves on the wall. I thought they were really cute, like especially in this swatch, and I just wanted to fill up the wall with something other than like wall objects. So sometimes I'll put shelves in kitchens and put some plates since we have plates now, and mugs and things like that. And oh yeah, and I added a lot of these little firefly or whatever bug lights around the house. So now I'm just going to clutter the interior here around the dining table with some pictures. I put a lot of like end tables and trinkets and bits and bobs, and also like some chairs, like just some like random dining chairs, because I noticed in a lot of pictures of like Victorian houses, they have an abundance of like chairs, end tables, and mirrors everywhere. So it just gives it like that Victorian vibe. And yeah, and also this wardrobe from the high school years pack, I think it was, went really well with like the pastel vibes. So yeah, I was just doing a tiny little entrance area. I think I put some shoes. By the back door, I did put a cat bowl. I think I decided that there was at least one cat in this house because it just made sense to me that this sim would have a cat, maybe a black cat, I don't know, whatever kind of cat, but there is some cat furniture in a litter box eventually. And so here I'm just going into the little desk area. These octagons like tend to be really hard spaces to fill up. Like over time I've just learned like what kind of works in there and what doesn't, like either just some seating. I did try putting a piano in there, but it was just way too big. So I ended up having that area as just like the little computer desk area with some books and other things. So I know this is kind of the beginning part of my decorating of the house, but there are certain objects that I use like over and over and over again in this house just because they fit the theme, and I think like as long as they're not all too close together, like it looks good. So I don't know, it's hard to find things like for this particular theme of a build, like the little cow plant inside of the terrarium or whatever. I use that like multiple times. A lot of decorations from like paranormal with like the glass vases or vases or however you pronounce for like um flowers, and like the same rug over and over again. Like I'm okay with reusing objects like as long as it looks believable and it suits the house. So Yeah, I was just putting some curtains up here. On these octagons, it's really hard to like find curtains that look like they're like a straight line. Like even there with those like island living curtains, like I don't know, they're just like I think I did keep them, but in other octagons in the house, I don't think I put curtains in every room because it's just like it looked a little bit strange. I just decided to do a little bit of a shelf with like books, and it's supposed to be like a little bit of a study area. I'm not sure if Sims can actually access those books or whatever, but there's so many bookcases in the house. I figured like they can just get the same book from another one, another bookcase, because they all share the same inventory. Because sometimes I just like to use books as decorations, and I thought the sim would be someone who is well read or likes to read. So yeah, and then moving on to my favorite little powder room. So I guess I didn't change the floor, but I did change the wallpaper. And I just decorated like fairly minimally. I think my favorite part was, yeah, this idea to use the tool mod here and to size up this like little wreath. I just thought it looked really nice. And then I think I add some of these starlights. I love those little starlights. I don't even know if they're from a pack or they're just from base game, but I wanted the inside to be like a little bit fantasy-ish. Otherwise, like, what's the point? It's supposed to be fun. You know what I mean? So I was trying to find a picture to go on this wall, and I think, yeah, I just went with that little tree decal. I just love that. So that's what made it my favorite powder room ever. We'll see if I can top it next time. And here we're moving on to the main living room. So there is a piano, and at this point there's not a platform, but I do add a platform because I felt like the skirting board on the wall like looks strange with like the platform trim. I knew I wanted the back corner to be the jewel crafting area, and oh my god, I spent so much time like deciding on like floors and wallpapers for this room. I had this idea in mind from when I played the Crystal Creations pack like last year. I did play it for a little bit. I had this one room in my Sims house, and the colors of like that I chose for the wallpaper plus like the jewel crafting table like looked really good, and I just couldn't seem to replicate it. But anyways, I figured out something I liked, and here I'm just adding the platform. So I liked having a little bit of let's say elevation change in the house, because like I said in my last video, I haven't done a lot of fooling around with platforms yet. But yeah, in the corner I've got the Crystal Creations kit, like almost all the items. I think, yeah, I'm putting some of the things out just like on the floor and on the walls just to kind of refamiliarize myself with what even came with this pack. And I do add some decorations from debug and otherwise, like just to fill some of the, I don't fill all of the cases and stuff. Like I kind of left those. Well, did I leave them? I don't know, maybe I didn't, but see that picture on the wall with the moons, I was like, that's from Realm of Magic, and it goes so good with this kit. So yeah, you can see me just trying to fill up these awkward edges that I was talking about from the fact that this house is such a weird shape. In the end, it like all looks good and it all comes together, but it was a little bit of like one of those situations where every corner had like a table or a plant in it, like just to make it not feel so edgy everywhere. And yeah, I did decide on the purple wallpaper in the end with the green Jewelcrafter's table and the green bookcases. I think those bookcases are so great. They're probably some of the best bookcases that we have, in my opinion. And yeah, and then here I was just continuing to decorate. I thought I was moving on to the TV now. Yeah, I did put a little bit of a TV in here. I'm not sure what I just meant by a little bit of a TV. I meant a little TV. So yeah, English is hard sometimes. English is hard, even though it's my only language. Words don't come out the way I intend all the time. Yeah, but just a little sitting area with a TV, and then I go on to cluttering these bookshelves, and I put some decorations on top of the bookcases too, like some gems and jewels. I think from the Get to Work, those geo stones or whatever. I just thought they made sense, and once again, this is one of those situations where I couldn't really fit things on the bookcase, but I didn't want it to look as empty as it did. So yeah, and then just like lining it with a rug or whatever, and continuing to add some clutter. I was gonna add some real like gems, like the ones that you find like when you're digging out in the world. I think I only did that in a couple of places though because they just looked really I don't know, like they just weren't like aesthetically appealing to look at. So, yeah. So I just put some decorations on top of the shelves too. I don't know, this room kind of reminds me like of like I don't know why like the words coming to mind is like gypsy caravan vibes, but that's kind of what I felt like just someone who collects and travels and is like connected spiritually to nature and things like that. That's just kind of what was in my head when I was building this. So, and then just a little piano space. There was a weird area by the platform, so I put like where I don't know, some texture was clipping through that shouldn't have been, so I put like a potted palm in front of that to kind of like try to cover it up, and some tomes and stuff. I was also thinking while I was building this, those like scholar tomes, those ones underneath the TV. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but to me, those are like, they're not books. They're like notebooks, like ones that you would write in, like those ones that you get from like Chapters or Indigo, like those expensive ones, like with the leather bound buckle. So that's what I imagine those little decorations are. This room is extremely like over cluttered. Once again, it's all functional. Like Sims can use every like interactable objects, but there is a lot of clutter. Because like I said, I just think they would be into collecting, and I don't know, that trunk like gives me the vibes of someone that like travels and stuff. So yeah, just like a lot of decorations. The sim that I ended up putting in here in my save file, I gave her some skill in piano and jewel crafting and things like that. But yeah, and then I think we're moving on finally to the master bedroom, and this master bedroom is massive, but it's just the way that it worked out with like the shape of the house and where the staircase was. It was like the only thing that made sense, but I don't think I stay building this for very long before I just get like overwhelmed and go do something else. Like I don't know like if I'm alone in this, and you guys can let me know, but sometimes when I'm just like I don't know what to do with a room, I'll go to do a room that I always know what to do with, which is like a bathroom. And like I don't hate doing bathrooms because it's always straightforward. There's always the same objects that Sims need in there and stuff like that. So it's just like less overwhelming. But I just decided to do this smaller bedroom first, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, I wasn't sure if this was like for a sister or a relative of some type or just a guest room, but I decorated it as if it was just a guest room. So it's very minimal. It's just got like a couple of end tables, a dresser, a mirror, a clock, and some folded towels because I don't know, at least like it doesn't really, at least there is a bedroom like if you did want to move more than one sim into this house, but for me I just felt like one sim with a guest room was like my idea behind the upstairs. And but then I was also conflicted because the sister idea, I thought like what if one sister is more like the light personality, like you know, the pastel side of the house, and the dark aesthetic was like the other sister or something like that. So that was just kind of a story I was making up in my head. So I mean, you can play it however you want, but that's just kind of what came to me. So yeah, just working on the master bathroom now. I originally had the counters on the other side in the shower, but then it just felt weird with the door, so I moved it all around, and eventually I do put a cat litter box up here near the end, I think, when I was like more I know I did put a food bowl downstairs, but I don't think at this point in my head I really was imagining like a cat. I don't know if that really makes any sense. I just like sometimes I just put food bowls just in case. But I had made up my mind at some point that I was going to put a litter box in here. So framing this bathtub, I tried a few different shelves. Bathtubs in this game are so strange. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a bathtub like this in real life, or like a lot of these bathtubs where they're just kind of like standalone with like not being like in the wall or like made into the house somehow. So yeah, I try to put like shelves and like bath items or like some kind of decorations around the bathtub just to make it feel like it's not just floating on its own in space kind of thing. So, and there is a second bathroom upstairs that's connected to the guest bedroom, but I did cut out the footage for it because it was kind of just the same idea as this one, like green color scheme, like a toilet, a shower, a sink, and like a couple decorations, and I figured three bathrooms was a little much for filming this. So yeah, I just wanted to save some time because yeah, even though I cut out like quite a bit of footage and I'm like new to this, I'm still like trying to figure out like what are good things to like cut out of the footage. And so I cut out like a lot of decision making, like when I'm just going back and forth and stuff, but like I also like need to shorten it like a little bit more than that because like I said before in my last video that I spend like it takes me a long time to build these things, like not just because of indecisiveness, but also just because I tend to like clutter and decorate like a lot. So yeah, just trying to figure out priorities and whatever. And I did like the way that that bathroom turned out. I was happy with it. So yeah, I think now I'm actually finally I must have been brave enough to go onto the bedroom at this point. So just putting a couple little pillows and things. And I did put a TV on the wall, and I think I framed this dresser with some bookcases. And yeah, I never know what is a good thing to put in a bedroom. Like I guess it's like personal, right? Like I don't think like The Sim isn't like a teenager. Like I know when I was a teenager, like living at home, like that was my space. So it had a lot of everything. But like as an adult now, it's like bedroom's kind of just like where I sleep, you know what I mean? And like sometimes like do a little work at my desk or whatever. But yeah, it's hard to say. So I debated I was gonna put a seance table in that corner. I tried the chess table, as you can see there, and it just felt like a little bit weird. Like I was like, why would she be playing chess in her bedroom? I don't know. I couldn't like decide what to do. So eventually I think I just put some kind of generic like seating area, and then in one corner I decided to put a cat post and stuff. So I guess I could have put like the telescope up here, but I did decide just to put it outside just because the windows had decorations and stained glass and stuff, and I just thought that would be wonky, like looking through a telescope through these windows. So yeah, in the end, like I am happy with how this bedroom turned out. I liked the colors and I liked the clutter and things. It just took me like a little bit to get going, and I did try to put some of this sim that I imagine living here's like personality into this room. So there's some debug objects like with like the candy skulls and things like that in here. This little picture that came from one of the newer kits. I think it came from the Comfy Gamer kit, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, I I bought that kit and I thought that I looked at everything, and I guess I didn't because I was pleasantly surprised to be able to find these little pictures that you can put on shelves and things like that. Like it's a much needed asset to the game to have more stand-up pictures. And yeah, as you can see, this bedroom took me a really long time, and I did use medium wall height again in this house just because I feel like Victorian builds do have high walls, and I doubled up on the butterflies. And yeah, it's hard to find like art that suits this particular style. I've been tempted sometimes to download that art like off the gallery that people upload, like the paintings, the paint from reference, where they like took a picture from outside the world of The Sims and somehow painted it and got it into the game, but try to just stick with the in-game objects for the purposes of sharing my builds. So, and then I came across that little paranormal circular tapestry or whatever you want to call it, and yeah, then I just started, well, not started, I'm actually about to finish this room, but finding some clothing piles and sizing them down a little bit because they look too big underneath that end table. But I mean, maybe it's just because I have kind of a messy room in real life, but the bedroom is kind of like where all my stuff that I don't know what to do with gets thrown, like at this point in my life. So yeah, and then just moving on to the shelves, and I think I only put one shelf on this wall. I didn't want to like overwhelm myself with trying to find the right objects and things. But yeah, I'm actually filming this or recording this voiceover while the mod that I like to use, the Better Build by Twisted Mexi, is still, we're still waiting for an update on it. So I'm really excited for when that happens because I don't know if I can live without that mod. I don't know if any anybody else watching this is a builder and feels that way, but once you have it, you kind of can't live without it. So, um, yeah, I like to use it because, especially for the tool mod component, like being able to use it in build mode and also change light colors and brightness and things like that. So, yeah, just a little laundry hamper. I didn't put a actual laundry room in this house. I think I have it in my next build though. So just some decorative laundry. And there I was trying to fill in that space in the wall, and then the roof decided that it was going to come into the room just because I changed the wall. So yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about with roofs. Like if you do the rooms before you place the roofs, it seems to be fine, but if you try to make any adjustments after, like sometimes you get that problem, so you end up with weird spaces that you don't know what to do with. And that was what happened to me. So I think I end up putting like a suitcase trunk or something in that corner. And yeah, so this room is kind of a recreation room, like, or something of sorts. I don't know, like a paranormal room, if you want to call it that. It's got the chess table, the seance table, bookcases, and some other decorations. So this room is for communing with spirits and logic skill. Yeah, that's what I went with. And yeah, just some more life and death decorations that I hadn't had the chance to use yet, like that case. And at this point, I think I was, oh my god, I think I remember being a little bit tired out of like cluttering things with like move objects, so I procrastinated on that case, but I knew it would look good if I could just find the right things in the end. And yeah, just lots of little end tables, because like if you look at the shape of this room, it is so awkward, and it's like too bad that like filling in a corner with like an extra wall, if that worked, which it won't because of the roof problem. But if it did, then if you had the view and like the walls down view while you were playing the game, you'd just see this like one tile box and it wouldn't look very good. So yeah, and decided to add some like pillars and things like that. But it's nothing special, nothing too special. It's just kind of like I don't know what to do with upstairs places. Like I grew up in a house that like the upstairs was basically, or the second floor was basically just like bedrooms and bathrooms, and that's it. And I find it like rarely works out that way in The Sims. Like maybe sometimes, like if it's a big family home. But I wasn't intending this house to be for a big family. So this was what my creativity came up with in terms of uh filling up this space with things to do and things that made sense for the sim that lived here. And like while I'm watching this, I think I just realized like I don't think I've ever actually like fully played through the paranormal pack. Like I love the paranormal pack, and I feel like I have played it because I've watched other people play it on YouTube, but I don't think I've ever actually like fully played it myself. So um yeah, like I don't know what it's actually like. I did start playing it once. I decided to go into a haunted house and it was just like it was cool, but it was kind of like stressing me out, like how chicken my sim was about everything, and like I just couldn't control her and she wasn't listening to me because she was just terrified all the time. So that's like I never actually like played through the whole thing. So but I do know like what the objects do, and I do know who the pictures are of and things like that. So yeah, and then I guess we're just going on to cluttering this little collectible shelf. I think I just put like a clock and like standard things. Oh yeah, I guess some sugar skulls or whatever. That is one thing that I have done, is collected those in the game. When I first started playing, I thought it was kind of like, I was like, oh, what's like a sugar skull offering on like on a tombstone or whatever. And then I don't, it was so many years ago, but I think somebody walks around and like sells them or something. Like correct me if I'm wrong, but anyways, they make good decorations for this kind of build. Yeah, that was basically the interior, and now I'm moving on to the exterior. I do put a gate, the life and death gate, around the entire outside of the house, and you can see some like string lights in the back. I really wanted to make sure I use those because objects like that are like some of my favorite. I don't know why. I feel like if I had my own house, there would definitely be like fairy lights and things, but um and yeah, I cut out some footage of like placing paths at the beginning. I decided just to go like completely with terrain painting in the end, and I was looking at like some debug plants, like those pink ones from Life and Death, and but I don't know, like they didn't really look like flowers and they didn't really look like bushes, and I think they're actually from like the undead world of the game. So anyways, I decided not to keep them. But what I did use that I was surprised looked as good as it did was that grass that I'm holding there, from Island Living. Like, and I know it's supposed to be a tropical grass, but I just decided to place it down and I thought it looked just kind of like a bush. So I decided to keep it. And yeah, when it comes to like landscaping, like I typically pick out like a few plants and just use them like over and over again. And I like to have like color coordination. So it won't be like a rainbow of plant colors. It'll just be like some pink, some white, some purple, and that's it, etc. And one really annoying thing that happened when I was doing this build is I think at some point I layered some terrain paint, and there's that bug in the game that if you layer terrain paint, sometimes it like deletes all the terrain paint. So I came back in and all of my hard work was gone. And so I had to redo the paths all over again and whatever, but it didn't happen until I got to the back of the house. But and then yeah, I tend to use those romantic garden flowers like a lot, especially if the build is like leaning towards like a little bit of a fantasy build. And these romantic garden lights that I decided to put in the posts here that I was struggling with the tool mod with because I'm still not good at using it. But yeah, and then here I'm just going on to just a tiny little greenhouse. I was like, oh, kind of kicking myself afterwards because when I was watching someone else's YouTube, I realized that there actually is like a glass roof that came with Life and Death that somehow I just missed when I was like looking at it. So I just used like the Seasons one here and it actually did look pretty good. So I think I might just keep it, but I need to check out that Life and Death one because I think it's probably really good for like these like older homes, like just like the texture. And we really needed like some new glass roof textures. So here I'm just going on to the interior and I decided to go a little bit of a different direction. Like I didn't want it to be like a greenhouse just for gardening, but I also wanted it to be like a little place that your sim could relax or whatever. And so there's some nice furniture in there. There's not that many planters. There's just like, I think just the 4 of them. And yeah, and once again, I play tested it and for some reason, like, I don't know why, like in greenhouses lately, like my Sims are complaining that they can't plant things even though there's like nothing in the way. So I just like moved it forward a little bit and that like seemed to solve the problem. I don't know if it's like the hanging plants or something like, but I feel like they shouldn't get in the way of like Sims walking around or like doing things, but I guess sometimes they do. Anyways, I really actually liked the inside of this, even though like for me, I like to plant like one of every plant. So I usually have like so many planter pots, but for this sim I just thought like maybe they just have a couple of like magical plants like mandrake root and whatever. So yeah, just 4 planter pots. And then yeah, you can see that little area in the back there. I just put that little tent because of what I said earlier, like she gives like card readings, so I put tarot cards on the table or whatever, and I just imagined this was like her backyard business kind of thing. I thought it was a cute little idea, and like a couple of crystal charging pads or whatever like on those little things. So yeah, I did decide to like fence this off, and I think eventually I do put a Jewelcrafting like selling table in the back here, even though I guess that would be like a little bit weird for gameplay to like have it at the back of the lot. But I just thought like the story in my head is like she's the one in town that people come to get their readings done and yeah, get their star signs assessed and whatever. I don't know, whatever they do. But yeah, that was just my idea for that little area. Anyways, guys, I guess I'm getting close to the end of this speed build, so I appreciate you watching if you made it this far, and feel free to let me know if you liked it or what you think. But yeah, I will be uploading this build to the gallery probably at the time that this video comes out. My gallery ID is XandralynnYT, and yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!